Punks. I'm your host, Brett R. Smith. Let's welcome our guests. Joining us today, Lisa D. Pasquale, Matt Palumbo, and Tom Shillue. Welcome, Tom. So good
Thank you.
So first up, let's talk. AOC can't attend Biden's State of the Union. I guess she's doesn't have the seniority or something, or the hierarchy. And also it's because of COVID restrictions and spacing. This is just kind of funny. I just kind of find this laughable. But I was kind of surprised she's not making a bigger stink of this, frankly.
I think she's waiting for other people to do it on her behalf.
Is any of the other squad going to be there, or is it just her that's being excluded?
Well, they're all pretty much new, aren't they? So I would assume they'd be like the same rules.
Probably so, yeah. So that goes for the other 3 or 4 or whatever there is. So is anybody looking forward to this? I mean, just from the standpoint of seeing if you can get through it, that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to be basically the only reason why I watch. And it's probably going to be really short, I would imagine. It's probably going to be like Clinton, who went on for like 3 hours one time.
Well, I wonder if they're going to tell people, tell their fellow Dems, like, don't clap for too long. He's got about 20 minutes live.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, how is this thing's obviously scripted? It's on a teleprompter. He's reading the glass. But at the same time, we've seen him in these positions where he gets lost. And sometimes he kind of riffs a little bit, and then that doesn't help at all. I mean, they really need him to stay on script, essentially. So, and Tom, this made me think about, you portray Biden. You've done Adam Schiff, which we talked about, is terrifying. But your Biden is really good. And I'm just curious, everyone probably wants to know, how do you prepare to portray senility, dementia, and just like the total gaffe machine that Biden has always been. I mean, it's kind of like, like those mid-afternoon naps that you have where you like wake up and you can't remember like what day or time it is or what the hell's even going on. Maybe you don't remember who you are. Maybe is that like a method maybe that you use?
Well, I don't want to. The thing is, I don't do too much stuttering because he's already said that he suffers from a stutter. I don't really believe that, because he said it was a lifelong struggle of his. But I think that he did that in order to kind of inoculate himself against the charges that he's, bumbling or that he's senile or something like that. So people say you can't criticize him for stuttering through his, or stammering through his press conferences or things like that. So I don't do a lot of that. And it just because why not? Why not avoid that and then, kind of go after other stuff. But he does tend to go off on tangents. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think my impression is mean at all. Like,
that's what I was going to say. You got to strike a balance between, if you're portraying someone with like some level of dementia, like you don't want to be mean. It's more of like bumbling words and things.
Yeah, and he used to ramble too. Like, if you look at the videos of him from the 90s, he rambled then as well.
Oh,
he had this, that's why he would always get into trouble talking about how, every 7-Eleven has an Indian in it, like he just goes off.
Dunkin' Donuts, all that stuff. That's what he's always been to me. He's always been this gaffe machine, and he always goes off script and he says like wildly kind of un-PC things that always make Democrats uncomfortable, and then it puts them in a position where they're basically just go, oh, that's just Joe. That's basically how they excuse it, and it's goofy. I mean, there's obviously double standard, but he's always been one of those guys where you just know that something's going to happen, like he's going to drop some bomb, and that's part of the fun of it. But I agree about not being mean. I was being mean to him, but some of the best impressions I think have been my favorite Reagan is Phil Hartman, and if you look at even the Clinton stuff that they did or Reagan, they never went mean like they did on Trump. Like what Alec Baldwin does with Trump, that's just mean. It's kind of nasty. It's not funny. So it's like you've got to be. Dana Carvey, always had the best ones, and his stuff always sort of borderlined on kind of abstract, and then that sort of made it.
Well, he finds like one small little thing, and then uses that as like the hook for the impression, and kind of like does it like overboard rather than do like a big caricature. He'll like focus on one little thing.
Ross Perot and G.W. Bush are probably the two best Dana Carvey, and probably most well known And H.W. Bush liked it so much he had him do it, like introduce him at a speech one time. He thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
But I mean,
the thing about Carvey, it was always he finds funny things to do, whether they're accurate or not. Like, if you look at his impression side by side, it's not really accurate in the way that someone like Daryl Hammond was amazing. Like, he was such a technical guy, but Dana Carvey, you end up laughing more because it's just a crazy caricature. It's like a that's what an impression is. It's just trying to take something and make it funny, as opposed to being like, I'm going to just accurately do an impression, which, how is that exciting? It's not even really fun just to, see something that's deadly accurate.
That's more
it's like the cartoons that draw, like George W. Bush's ears like way too big. It's obviously not it, but it's also something recognizable enough to be like, that's him.
Yeah.
No, that's a good parallel, because those are obviously caricatures, and so you exaggerate nose or eyes or whatever, but you still got to maintain kind of the likeness. But it's the same thing with what Tom does. You're doing.
It's not makeup I use. It's just Snapchat. See, this is Snapchat. So I just do. I mean, my hair is all crazy now, so I look like Bob Barker, but I just kind of go like this, right? And I say, "Come on, man!" Like, let's tape it. Come on, man! Come on! All right, so you can see right there. It's
that's awesome.
It just ages you instantly in the filter. And then I save on makeup. I don't think they could, Fox News doesn't have an entertainment department, so it's not as if I could get an accurate, the makeup wouldn't look that great anyway. So the Snapchat filter ends up doing all the work, and it's better.
Yeah. What do you do for Schiff? Just put like blush on or something?
Yeah, Schiff, I do my own makeup, and I put, I just do the ruddy cheeks. Mm-hmm. I use a little blush here, and then I do the tip of my nose and chin. And then I put little dots, like little ruddy dots. And then I put eyeliner on, because the eyeliner helps with the big eyes.
Yeah. The Manson lamps, as I like to call them.
Yeah, and that's another thing, is that that Schiff, if you look at my Schiff, I mean, it's definitely funny, I have to say, but it's not accurate at all. Like, my Schiff voice, I always say, oh, Donald Trump, ooh. Like, that's nothing like Schiff. It doesn't sound like him at all, but it seems like that's the way he would talk.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys remember when Dana Carvey did a Weekend Update with Dennis Miller, and it was Miller on Miller? And that was perfect, because Carvey had like the cadence in his voice, and he said he got it from listening to like a coffee pot dripping one day, and he said he was kind of like listening to it, and he started going, and then he's like, that's Miller, like that's Miller's cadence. And so that's kind of, but they got him up there with the hair and everything. He even did one of Gary Shandling on the Larry Sanders Show, and it made Larry really uncomfortable. But he had the hair, and he had these crazy big teeth, and he's like squinting the eye, and he's like, does my ass look big? Does my ass look big? He's like, how's my hair? Because Gary was always going on about both those things. And Gary was like so put off by it that, and Dana could see that in his face when he did it to him, but he ended up not doing it on the show. He's like, I try to make it really abstract. So it's funny, but it's like borderline, like a total caricature. And Larry's just like, yeah, okay. All right. Super uncomfortable. So that was a brilliant show, by the way. But what did you think of Phil Hartman's Reagan back in the day? Because he played the nice guy to the press, and then like behind the scenes, he was like the maniacal, like mastermind, on the phone. Do you remember that at all? Did anybody remember that? That was perfect. He was great.
He was always so funny. His Sinatra was amazing.
Yes. What about who's everybody's favorite Clinton?
Joe Hammond, right?
Yeah. Daryl Hammond. I mean, he was like perfect. He was like exact, right?
Yeah.
Hartman
was good as well. The whole McDonald's thing. When he goes to McDonald's and he's jogging with the Secret Service, and then he starts eating everybody's food. Like that's just classic Clinton.
You know who did a fairly good Clinton, and it was hilarious, was Rush.
He did.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he got the vocal fray and like the draw, everything just perfectly. And he would do that thing where he would do Clinton talking to Rush, like they would talk back and forth, like, Limbaugh, you just don't get it. I like a Philly with a little meat on her bones. What's wrong with that? And it's hey, have you guys seen what John D. Domenico, who does
he's a red eye guy,
right? He's been doing, he does all the impersonations. He's just like 30. I think. And he's obviously really well known for his Trump. His Trump is really good. But he posts on Facebook sometimes where he's doing the deep fake. Like he'll do a deep fake of himself. And he's been asking people what's better. My face doing it, because it's like Tom, like you, he kind of contorts his face and he does things for different characters, obviously. And that's kind of part of the whole presentation and like the portrayal. But he's starting to use these deep fakes and they look good. I mean, I can't deny that, but at the same time, I think it kind of takes away from Johnny's performance.
It's amazing. It's creepy because you see it and it's quite amazing. But I prefer to see someone doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's part of the method. I mean, it's part of the whole. I just think like you're losing his performance, his signature touch on these things by putting the deepfake on. So, and there's that guy that does Tom Cruise too. He looks like Tom Cruise in real life.
Those are really scary. Like, I don't get how, like, I mean, it's the point about deepfakes. How are courts not going to accidentally accept evidence like this down the road? I know it's kind of scary to think about.
Well, they look real.
Most of the time, people are just putting it on like a famous movie scene so far.
So that's good. I mean, I feel like down the road you could easily frame someone for a crime with that kind of technology.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing, and you can get away with it with kind of low resolution. I don't know what it's going to look like, in 2 years when they can all do this stuff on HD, because it's a little creepy. So let's move on to
on that note.
On that note, does Tom have any tips for Biden to be more Biden at the State of the Union? To be more what? Biden.
Oh,
like, how should he lean into being himself?
If he just reads his, he's just going to read his script. My advice, if I could give it, would be Republicans should stop doing that stupid rebuttal because they always look like idiots. You know what I mean? They should just show like a music video after it or something. Yeah, it's just don't do it. And they always look dumb. And
nobody watches them.
Yeah.
And I don't get how you can do a rebuttal to something you just watched. Like the odds you're going to be that well prepared in any regard is pretty much zero.
Yeah.
Well, didn't last year the person tape it ahead? Was it Stacey Abrams? She taped it ahead of time.
Yeah.
They're always taped ahead of time.
Yeah.
Rubio I thought was live because
was it live?
The one with the big moment with the
water. Yeah.
That's right.
That's what's so scary about politics is like I can work my whole life trying to build a reputation, and then I do one dumb thing that lasts 7 seconds, and that's all I'm remembered by.
Yeah,
that's always it. Always it. I don't know. That's that. Like I said, I think it's going to be the shortest State of the Union ever. I think 30 minutes. I think that's about it.
How do we think they're going to spin it though? For why it's the shortest?
The number of people, like social distancing, keeping everybody together for some amount of time.
Yeah,
but what makes every speech long is like all the interruptions.
Clapping. Yeah. Right.
So I wonder if they'll limit that somehow to.
Well, didn't they limit clapping in the debates because of COVID? Wasn't that something? I remember something like that when the Trump.
Well, they got rid of some of them.
Yeah.
But they cited COVID, like don't call out, don't shout, don't clap, just keep. That was kind of like. They always say that, but I think they mentioned COVID in the last debate as a reason to maybe keep it down. Don't get too rowdy.
Well, Biden and Pelosi and Schumer have to wear masks since they're basically like less than 6 feet apart from each other.
Well, for show, yes.
Yeah.
Biden was masked on a Zoom call yesterday.
I know.
He was the only one.
They're all vaccinated. I just don't get it.
I don't get it either. That's the only thing you're missing, Tom. Is you're missing that black mask that he always wears, which I think looks really creepy. I don't know, man.
I mean, at least get like the cool one that Trump had with like the presidential seal. That was cool. You have that ability now.
It was on both sides, and it was like blue. It was dark blue, and it was actually kind of cool looking. I mean, he looked sort of like I don't know, like a Cobra. What the not the Cobra Commander, but the Cobra troops with like the black mask. Anyway, I don't know. I think 30 minutes max. That's what I think we're going to go for, and maybe they'll say he's maybe got to go to bed or something. So, anyway, I want this, Matt. You'll like this one because this ties into plugging your book. Which we love to do on this show.
I do it every single day of my life.
You have to. You have to be a good hurdy-gurdy man and go out there. That's because nobody else is going to do it for you, frankly. But sometimes you get people to retweet you, and that's awesome. Like Tom and other people. They're very generous. It's Lisa. Yeah. So Killer Cuomo is the highest-paid governor in the history of the United States. I'm sitting here thinking, shouldn't we also classify him as like the biggest killer of constituents of all the governors in U.S. history? I mean, we have like 15,000 strong, I think, so far. Matt, am I correct?
In the nursing homes?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that sounds about right. Yeah, I think it was 12,000 links to his policy, and then there's probably 15K total.
Right. So, a lot of bucks rolling into this guy's wallet, and obviously a lot of dead bodies left behind in the wake of his current administration. How does this guy get away with this? Why are we not talking about this more?
Well, on the bright side, it actually was supposed to be higher. Like I think it was supposed to be 250K this year, but they postponed it an additional year, I guess, because they realized the optics of it weren't too great. Even without that, he's still the highest paid and obviously the least deserving of it. I mean, I don't know. Like what the media was so desperate to deify him that they didn't look at a single detail of what was going on in his state. And I mean,
imagine that.
There's no excuse. Like, it's not like he had things were going okay and then get out of control at every single stage of the pandemic. If we were to look at the numbers, if New York were its own country, it would have had more COVID deaths per capita than any country on the planet. So there's just no possible way to spin that in any meaningful way. And I think only New Jersey is worse. And then on the flip side, I mean, there are states that had very little coronavirus restrictions that had a lot of deaths. There were states with very strong restrictions that had a lot of deaths. The main difference is the ones with restrictions, their economies came back slowest, and we saw that in New York as well. And I think it was last year and maybe even the year before, they lost more citizens than any other state. So everyone's fleeing and also dying, and he's getting rewarded for it.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, because it's a great city. I mean, and he doesn't. I'm sitting here thinking, is he making all that money because it's New York? I mean, it's a pricey place, but he doesn't live on the island.
That's the thing. I'm pretty sure he's upstate, which is the more rural. I mean, not like I would really know, but comparatively, rural compared to New York City, at least. Yeah. I imagine this. This cost of living is nowhere near what it is in Manhattan. So yeah, $250,000 a year is still a substantial sum.
Well, meanwhile, cops make starting, I think, 45,000, and they top out at 80, but apparently they can retire after, what is it, Lisa?
25 or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think you can retire and get something NYPD after 13 years, or at least when my best friend was a cop, and he, I think, stopped at 12 so he could become an actor. So he didn't get anything.
Yeah, it is
where the money is, I think. Acting.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of time to get the full 80,000 a year pension.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 25 to get the full pension.
Tom, are you in New York?
Yeah, in New York now. I'm in Westchester. Thank God I'm out of the city. But it's not exactly big sky country up here, but it's been great. I live in kind of Yonkers, Bronxville. So glad that we got up here the October before the pandemic hit. So, it's crazy. It's just dumb in Westchester as it is in Manhattan, but you're just not affected by it as much. When I go into the city, it's it's a real zombie. It's a zombie island at this point, and it's so horrible. And obviously, we had a tiny place because when you live in the city, you're all packed in. So I do know people who still live there, and they're in these buildings, and I mean, it's just a terrible nightmare. So at least I'm out here. I got a yard, and I can get outside, and people are a little bit more normal.
Yeah, I saw this headline on The Onion the other day. It was just a photo of a bunch of cars leaving New York, and the headline was millions suddenly realized Manhattan a horrible place to live.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. It had its problems when it was okay. When it was, when you had the benefits. But that's the thing is, all of the benefits are gone. Wasn't that long ago, I guess, but it was, I was doing a show, and I got out of my show at 9:30, and I was like, let me go get some dinner. I'm downtown because I was in the kind of East Village area. So it was this is what you do. You're down there. You might as well take them. So I was going to go out alone and get some food. And there was nothing. I mean, 9:45, everything was shut down because they had the 10 o'clock. I don't think they have the 10 o'clock anymore. Maybe it's 11 o'clock now. But I mean, you can't get a bite to eat in Manhattan at 9:45. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, that was the reason. I mean, not even just New York, but like other big cities, DC is, oh, well, everything's, here, and the culture and the restaurants. It's like, well, you can't do any of that now.
Yeah.
So why are people there paying like 3 or 4 times like median rent and all of that?
And I do want people in the city who say that they say we have food as a selling point, like as if you can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's like LA. I mean, I've lived in LA twice, and I mainly miss the food.
Oh yeah.
The rest of it is just sucks. The food's fantastic because there's so much different stuff. But that's kind of what I like about New York a lot. Manhattan. Last time I was there was in 2017, and it's in Soho. It's fantastic food, and everything's within walking distance, which is kind of like when I lived in Chicago. And that's part of the fun. But I mean, the exodus out of New York is like the exodus out of LA and out of California right now. It's people are just fleeing in droves. I haven't seen it's kind of like the Northridge quake when everybody was leaving there. Clinton was cutting FEMA checks and they were just bailing out of there. And you look at like movies from New York in like the 70s, like French Connection and stuff. I mean, New York is just filthy and disgusting. They used to publish these. The cops would hand out these pamphlets at the airport, and it was called Fear City, and it had like this skull.
Oh yeah, it's in the book.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. You read that, and it talks about avoiding certain areas and what to watch for, and don't hang out here. It's like we're getting back to that, but New York was eventually able to recover from that, and you saw that in the '80s. It started to get cleaned up. Is it salvageable? Because this is really different. This is very different this time than just crime.
Yeah, I mean, crime's a large part of it. So is economics, and I mean, it's as easy as doing the opposite of what they're doing now. So it's theoretically possible. It's just, is that going to happen, and are there any real incentives or leadership to do that? And unfortunately, I think the answer is no. And then the whole people leaving New York. Yes, it's an indictment of their policies, but it's also a preview of it's causing the spread of liberalism everywhere else. Like, I didn't even know this, but Tucker was talking about it on his show that Vermont was reliably red, and it was migration from New York that turned it into one of the bluest states in the country. And unfortunately, we're going to see that happen everywhere else, but no one seems to be changing their politics when they move.
Yeah, did you guys see that Florida sheriff standing next to Ron DeSantis?
Oh, yeah, he's like, don't come here if you're going to vote this way.
Yeah.
What you kind of have to say, I mean.
I think you have to. I think more and more, especially at the local level, governors, sheriffs.
If you change states, you can't vote for the party you voted for before 10 years.
Or like a moratorium, like you can't vote until you've been politically reformed.
Yeah, well, you have to pay the tax rate of the state you're fleeing.
That actually would be a very good.
Actually, California does make you pay if the company is based there, or like I said. Like there's some people in DC or DC area because the California university system, they have lobbyists and all of that. And if you're in Virginia and you are a DC lobbyist for the University of California system, you have to pay California taxes.
I think too. I know people who work in Hoboken or live in Hoboken and work in the city. I think they have to do both as well.
Yeah, they get you on both sides.
That's rough. I mean, really, I think the only reason why people stay in New York at this point, Tom, it's job and maybe family, things that are, obviously you can't do remote.
That's the only reason I'm here is, the dollar value of being 20 minutes from my parents is worth more than, the crazy taxes. So.
But thanks to Cuomo, people are having less family, so maybe they'll be able to break free.
That is true.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they've trained people. The problem with these cities like New York and other once great cities is that now they've just trained the Zoom class to work from the suburbs, so they don't need to go in anymore. So there's just so many businesses. The place I get my hair cut it's right near Grand Central, and it relies on all of these people who won't go into the city anymore. They'll never go in anymore. So that business is like boom, they're out, right? They got to either change or find a new client or something like that. The buildings, the buildings are empty. So the commercial real estate, so they can't survive. You can't just have Uber drivers and baristas. Manhattan has to have those white collar people, and we've trained them all to stay home. So that's the doom of the cities, I think.
Man, I mean, Tom, you remember how bad New York was back in the day, and through Giuliani it started to get cleaned up. I mean, I have friends who lived there, and they would say, prior to Giuliani, you'd never ride the subway. I mean, never. Yeah. I mean, that's a bad idea. Just cab it. But I just think to myself, it was able to get rehabbed because those were sort of the normal things that happen. Through administrations, you get, things get bad, and then obviously the voters respond by going the other direction, and things start to change. But this is kind of like an X factor with COVID.
Yeah. No, I know a guy who has a law firm, and he said, "We're not going back. I'm closing down the office."
Mm-hmm.
It's a Manhattan law firm. He said, "We can do it elsewhere. We can do it from home."
So, to some extent, too. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world that there are all these jobs that can be done from home now. It's just the people who are not going up as a fear, I think, is the main issue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, supposedly, people are buying up all of those abandoned office buildings to turn them into residential because I guess there's still money there. But I mean, I'm just out in the DC area, and our office was something like $40,000 a month. And like June of last year, whoever is in charge ended the lease because everything was pretty much just getting by on their own. And back in June of last year, I mean, I think we thought it would continue this month, or at least the people that were hopeful. So even then, it was just a business and not. This is the healthiest thing for everybody to not die from COVID.
Hey, Tom, are rents going down at all?
I think so.
No, in Manhattan, yes.
Yeah.
In Manhattan, they are. And people are scooping up bargains. People are like, they moved from Philly, the young people. So I think there's going to be the same thing. We want to have the young, just post-college people come in and try to revive it. But I don't think they can do it on their own because they need those. For a while, Manhattan was becoming a family place. I don't think families want to live there anymore.
Yeah, LA, the rents are down in LA County by like 20-25%. And that's a lot, man. I mean, I lived in Venice. I live right next door to Rydell High, Venice High. And that's where I voted, actually. It was in the Rydell High gym. It was bizarre. It was like, I mean, every time I drive by it, I'm just like, it's Greece. It's Greece, and it's Greece too to me. But like, I was paying, this is like 2005. I was paying probably almost $1,300 for 750 square feet, one bedroom. I mean, I was a mile from the beach. Okay. So you pay for that, but the average pre-COVID was, had gone up to about $1,500 for a one bedroom, one bath apartment. And the other thing is that doesn't guarantee a parking spot. I had a parking spot, which was very coveted, but seriously, it's outrageous. And this is kind of, I mean, I would, maybe one positive thing that came out of this, that and me getting out of jury duty as far as COVID is concerned. Rents going down. A friend of mine moved. His lease was up, and he went from one area of LA to 3 miles the other direction because it was like a $400 drop in rent, and he got a bigger place. So, I mean, there's some good things. I mean, some good things are happening, but at the same time, it's like you said, without restaurants and things that young people want, what's the incentive for for rents falling to the point where young people can move into Manhattan? There's nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, are museums and things like that open or not?
Yeah, they're open, but it's just I wouldn't go. I won't go to a museum because I'm not going to wear a mask. I don't want to walk around with a mask on, so I don't go to museums. I don't do anything. I'll go hiking. I'll do outside things. I could become
more of an introvert. I didn't think I could become more of an introvert until this, and then I'm just like, I don't want to go out. I go out even less than I did before because of the mask factor.
Yeah, I mean, we've got we don't have technically a mask restriction in Arizona, but basically the governor has left it up to businesses. All government buildings and whatnot, masks are off. But he left it up to discretion of businesses. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, okay, so we have kind of a quasi-vaccine passport in Arizona, because a business can say whether they can serve you or not, given you have the vaccine, or the mask thing as well. So it's wacky here. It's really strange, because he didn't go as far as DeSantis and Abbott in basically saying a business can't refuse you service if you have or hadn't had the vaccine, and the same goes with masks. The business can require masks if they want.
Yeah.
Whereas these other states have said no masks, no nothing.
Are they doing it? What happens if you go into a Trader Joe's? I mean, is there?
They're the worst.
They just won't let you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I know, I mean, I'm sure Trader Joe's isn't the greatest. There was some viral post a few weeks ago where some Trader Joe employee sent their CEO a 5-page list of demands of how to retrofit their stores to deal with COVID. Mm-hmm. And the state wrote them back a termination letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, caused me to
did some good work, is all I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
Well, and part of it is, I understand, not all of the states have really protective or hard and fast liability statutes in place. So, I understand why a business would require it until there's some sort of insurance or liability issue that they can be covered from. Well,
that's what DeSantis did. Part of that bill was kind of an indemnification, basically no liability on a business. So you can't have somebody going and say, I got COVID because I was in here, and then there's this giant lawsuit. Meanwhile, some guy I saw last night is suing Dunkin' Donuts over hot coffee that he spilled on himself. I mean,
he's trying to read
again
that famous McDonald's lawsuit, I think.
Exactly.
It actually was legit if you look into it. But this one's probably BS.
Dude, back in the day, I mean, this is such a Gen X thing and a boomer thing. The McDonald's coffee was hard. Dude, it was hardcore. Everybody knew this. I mean, this was a well-known fact that when you got piping hot coffee, and that woman got, I think, 3rd-degree burns on her lap. It was gnarly. So
what originally happened was she got the burns. She asked for McDonald's to reimburse her for the medical bills, which was $20,000, and they said no. So then she sued and got however many millions. So bad on her part, I guess.
See, you know. It's like I was saying, dude. You got good reference points.
I know.
You can go way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. This is a guy born in the 90s. All right. I mean, all Gen Zers and millennials should aspire to you, Matt. Frankly,
thank you.
Well,
I mean, there are kids born in 1999 that call themselves 90s kids, so I should be able to say I'm an 80s kid, even though I wasn't born in there.
Basically, under that logic, yeah, absolutely.
By that logic, it works. Yeah.
Let's. We can move on to Caitlyn Jenner.
I can't wait.
Okay, so I'm kind of mixed on this because I'm a big fan of Bruce Jenner. The year I was born, he was kicking ass in the Olympics.
Who's that?
Yeah, I know. He's somebody that was on a TV show with these Kardashians. So, but for a lot of us growing up who were in our 40s and 50s, this is the guy in a Wheaties box. He's always been a winner. He's always been a badass. I like him. I don't have any problem with what he's doing. Frankly, it's kind of like that Thomas Jefferson quote. If it doesn't break my arm or pick my pocket, what is the difference? But it was just kind of funny because Joy Maude Behar misgendered Caitlyn, and I thought it was kind of interesting, the response. Lisa, what was the response? What was Caitlyn's response?
She
Maude?
Just said that there are bigger issues, and that she didn't care about pronouns. There's lots of other issues. I actually think, as far as the way that she has approached all of that stuff is definitely a lot more moderate than the leftist activists. And that's what's funny about it, is because these are people that are, supposedly not in this category. And if you ask, an actual person who's gone through a transition and wants to live this lifestyle, first of all, didn't ask the government to pay for it. She didn't. Even though she apparently said she knew when she was a kid, it was a time when they weren't trying to, intervene. And then the other thing that I think is really interesting, if you watch, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, is she wants the kids to still call her dad. She does not, this is who you grew up with. And, she's not trying to mandate the kids, do this or that, or say, why doesn't my wife want to still be married to me, which is, what a lot of these like activist types want to do.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it only so that anytime anyone criticizes her, I can be a hack and claim it's because the left is transphobic.
Well, you're going to see in the mind of them, she's still going to be a privileged white male.
Well, that's the spin. They're going to go, well, they're a multimillionaire and they're already famous and they have the support system, so it's not comparable to whoever else it would be treated.
Well, and also whenever she was pro-Trump, people were criticizing her. Because I don't know if you know, she went to the Trump Hotel or the Trump Building in New York and was able to use the bathroom and was like, see, like nothing big is happening. But the one thing that was interesting when she was pro-Trump is they were saying, she's super privileged because she's rich enough to pay for surgery that makes her look passing. And a lot of people can't get surgery that makes them look passing.
And I know she, I think, like, distanced herself from Trump like 2 or 3 years ago, but I think once you endorse Trump, you have basically original sin in their eyes, so there's nothing you can possibly do to ever absolve yourself. So I think that's also going to be a point of attack. I mean, to be honest, I don't really know what all her policies are, because I don't think she's really outlined any of them, but I think anything is better than Newsom, though. I'd rather have someone who's actually has political experience.
She said she's fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
No, it's very unique.
Well, and the thing, but what annoys me about that is, after the gay issue sort of went away, I was kind of like the pioneer of that, I would say. There's really
you paid for it. That's for sure.
Because I kind of don't like that characterization, because it depends on like what social issues, because
gay rights,
that Republicans are not socially moderate or mainstream in some sort of way.
Yeah, like on gay rights, I would say like, oh yeah, I'm fiscally conservative, socially liberal, but then when it comes to like drag queen story hour, I'm going to go, okay, no, I'm more socially conservative when it comes to enters into public life. But
yeah, I mean, if you're defining it that way, but I don't think that she feels that way. But I mean,
I just mean, like, I think I don't know, there's not really any nuance in politics. Like when you say, you're more socially liberal, you can still be socially conservative on like 40% of the issues. Or
I think if you ask like a majority of Americans would identify as fiscally conservative, socially liberal. It's just that, but if you ask them on the socially liberal ideas, they're not. And so that's the thing, is like, it's become this thing that's like whatever you want it to be.
Right.
So if someone says it and you identify that way, you think, okay, like I'm that person. But I mean, you can't say Ron DeSantis, he's probably socially liberal as far as like what you used to be defined as. I mean, the only issue that's really left is abortion, as far as like whether or not you consider yourself pro or anti. That's probably like the last social issue.
Yeah, heavy D.
I don't think you can be socially liberal and fiscally conservative. I think it's gone. It's over. Like there's no, what do you do? Like everything now it's
like all together.
It's just taking your money and spending it on social programs. And, if you are at all, I mean, if there's any liberalism in you at all, you're taking my money. I mean, you can't do it. You can't do it.
I mean,
I saw recently there was like some defense contractor was having like a panel about like building a deadlier drone, and there was a discussion about like how great it was that the panel had like LGBT representation. So like we're at a stage where everyone's fiscally liberal and also fiscally or socially liberal. It's a very weird mashup to see.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when Tom said it reminds me also, the problem is so much of government spending is based on social issues. So if you care about how your money is spent, most likely it's being spent on something that you disagree with, no matter how socially liberal you are.
Right.
Yeah,
I think like I'm probably more socially tolerant than socially liberal. Like, I'm more apathetic. I'll call you whatever you want. I'll respect whatever lifestyle, but like, I just the cultural left, on those issues kind of frightens me.
Well, that's kind of what that gets into the Jefferson quote. If it doesn't break, pick my pocket or break my leg, then what's the difference? I mean, you want to be called a she or a shim or they or that, whatever.
But then once you tell me there's 72 genders, I'm going to go, okay, believe whatever you want, but I'm not going to bend reality to cater to that.
And I'm not going to carry around notes. So,
correct,
because I can't remember all that stuff. I mean, I have a hard time remembering, my bank.
I can't remember names. I got to remember your pronouns as well. Like, especially if they're like the weird ones. Like, there was some actor who said he wants to be called Tree from now on. I mean,
was Prince
I'm not calling you Tree.
Was Prince like way ahead of the curve on this or something or what? I mean, because it's like I always think about that. I mean, because he literally changed his name to that symbol, that kind of genderless.
But I think that was like contract stuff too.
It was. It was all about.
I wrote an article about Caitlyn Jenner, saying she's going to run, and I went. I referred to her as the artist formerly known as Bruce.
At least that's creative. I mean, I got to say.
Thank you.
It's very creative. It's very funny. And again, you're reaching back. And it's like Rush used to say that most people's history began the day they were born. Not Matt Palumbo. I mean, he's reaching way back. It's very good. Honestly, Trump wasn't. The only thing Trump was fiscally conservative on was basically deregulation and taxes, because and especially for corporations, I went from 35 down to 21%.
And then you get the qualified business income too.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, for businesses and for freelancers, and he was the first president in my lifetime to say the words independent contractor in a couple different speeches. I've never heard a president or a politician say independent contractor.
It was really good for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you made below, I think it was like $200,000, like 25% of your income was exempt from it automatically. Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah, but he spent like crazy.
Yeah.
All these guys.
Well, I mean, and not just him. I mean, that's like there really hasn't been much of a difference between Republicans and Democrats on spending in a long time.
No, I mean, I think the last guy to actually cut government was Calvin Coolidge.
Yes.
I mean, we're going way back. I mean, that's.
The best we can really do is try to freeze government spending and then just hope, you can do that enough times where tax revenues catch up. But I don't think, I remember there was an episode of Stossel where he was talking about some obscure government program that might have been like 100 years old at this point and has no purpose, and all these attempts throughout history to end it. And there's always some special interest that will block it because enough people benefit from it to
Well, if you look at if anyone still has a phone bill, but on landlines, there was that Spanish-American war tax.
The penny tax.
On landlines up until it might even still be on there. I should look at my phone bill.
I think the most obvious example is like most toll booths are created just to fund the highway, and then whatever city realizes, oh, wait, we can make a ton of money, and they just keep them.
That's the same with the gas tax, which the Fed takes 50 cents on every gallon of gas. I mean, they don't create gas. They just tax it. But that's supposed to go for highways and roads and bridges and infrastructure, and obviously it doesn't. It's like Social Security. It just goes into basically the coffers and gets spent. There is no Social Security lockbox. I mean, that's just bullshit. I mean, Gen Xers have known for a long time that there's just no way in hell we're going to collect any semblance of Social Security unless we're just robbing millennials and Gen Zers to pay us.
Yeah.
I think we'll get it. I think we'll get it, but it'll be 30 cents on the dollar. Like, I think it was within the past few years, people who started getting Social Security are basically breaking even on what we put in. And for many decades or even generations before that, since it was created, you would actually get more than you put in. But the pyramid, the age pyramid is such where, it's now a horrible investment.
Well, back in 2000 or 2001, early in 2001, George W. he attempted to at least give people under a certain age where you opt out of Social Security and you basically pay, I think it was like a 2.4% tax, basically. Like, you're not getting that much. That's paying, for the greatest generation and the boomers. But just to have control of the 10% left, the majority wanted to do it. And then, September 11 happened and there wasn't room for any other issues.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, he was the only guy. They called that the third rail of politics back then, which, you did not want to touch because you piss off all the old people, especially for Republicans, because that's plurality of their voters. But that idea of privatizing a portion of it, I thought was really cool.
I think it was the opposite. It was you get control of the 2.4% and the rest of it, because I think it's like 12.4%.
Yeah. And
you lose 10% in order to have control of like the 2.4%. And it makes sense because none of us think we're going to get any of it anyway. So it's basically like you're giving me 2.4% of money I don't think I'll ever.
Yeah. I mean, the ROI you get in Social Security is below what you'd get if you just put it in government debt, which is risk-free. So theoretically, we could all just do that ourselves. But unfortunately, I don't think most people even know how to buy those.
Well, Galveston, Texas opted out of Social Security a long time ago. I think like in the early 70s. I don't know. And it's written into their constitution. I think that's how they do that. But they invest all their money into some kind of a mutual fund, and it makes, I don't know, something like 5 to 8% or something on average.
Probably would be a market average.
Better than what Social Security yield, like 1 or 2%, maybe something like that. I mean, it's pretty pathetic. So I don't know. That's always just been that's I talk about like Bernie Madoff and all this stuff, and it's like that's nothing, man. I mean, Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. I think even FDR said that this thing. I mean, he knew that it wasn't even sustainable. I mean, people were living like till in like their early 70s back then, anyway. So. All right, do we want to move on to cheese?
Yeah.
So this is for people who want to check this out, go to Bounding into Comics. It's a very cool website. It's a right of center pop culture site, which is very unique and kind of a unicorn right now. But they reported on this. Is cheese racist because largely white people eat it? I mean, this is just the most bizarre thing. I mean, people are just looking for things at this point to be pissed off about. But let me see if I can pull this up.
I mean, I remember there's a section on the website Reddit called Today I Learned, where it's just like a fun fact. People submit kind of like fun facts. And one of them I coincidentally saw not too long ago was that I think it's the enzyme you need to break down cheese, where dairy is mainly found in Europeans. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why, it's mostly white people eating cheese, not because racism.
I mean, I can't think of any, like if I think of people that aren't white, I mean, almost everyone has some sort of like dish that they like with cheese in it. I mean, if anything, cheese is like the unifier. Cheese for president.
Huh.
Well, Matt, are you saying it's all dairy? So it's not just cheese.
The article says dairy.
I think it is dairy. I mean, I could just Google this right now.
I've got it. It just says cheese is racist. Storm as Hunter's back ban on dairy foods in school. Serving dairy and foods at schools is racist. An Extinction Rebellion campaigner told the council after hundreds signed a petition to serve children plant-based meals only. Allison Plummer from the Global Environmentalist Movement has led a petition for more plant-based meals to be served in schools and other venues. She told the council there is a racist element to serving dairy because she believes a large percentage of the BAME communities, I guess these are they're lactose intolerant. BAME communities. I don't know what the hell that acronym is.
Well, when you get down to the rest of the article, it all comes down to climate change.
Yeah.
And, the cows taking up the land and the this and the that. That's like the whole thing behind like the plant-based, which is so funny. Like to save the earth, we have to eat the earth.
So apparently,
but I'm curious, Tom, because you're the only one I think with kids, or actually maybe Matt. Do you have kids?
No, no. I mean, I probably should by now, but it's
are there things more offensive than dairy?
I mean, my kids eat dairy. I'm not a big dairy person.
But I mean, like when you see like the horrible school lunches, I mean, there's things a lot more offensive that I see in there than dairy.
Yeah,
I finally found. Some of it back to what I said. Researchers found that until 4 millennia ago, Europeans weren't drinking milk, but were the first and still are the only ones that majority can, even though 60% of all adults cannot digest milk. So it's a genetic.
It does seem like a northern thing. You got Wisconsin. They love the cheese. The northern climes. You just picture people churning the cheese and the butter like Heidi, but you don't see people in Jamaica going crazy over the milk products, right? So
Jamaica has other products that they grow. I think
might have goat cheese down in Jamaica, like they do in Mexico. You don't get a lot of dairy down in Central Mexico or Rocky Point. Spent some time down in the Baja, and mainly it's goat cheese down there, which is kind of interesting. You get on your tacos and your stuff, so it's good. I'm not.
Yeah, so this is
discriminatory.
Like, with all the things that are racist these days, cheese, yeah, why not?
Well, I always say like I could have like updated like SJW handbook, but because there's some funny things that I thought of, like, oh, this is like crazy, I'll say this, and then like it becomes true.
Yeah.
But there's also like so much stuff that I never could have come up with.
It's hard to lampoon the left. I mean, frankly, it's not an easy job anymore.
Oh, I did an article, and I can probably do another one. It was like 5 times that Babylon Bee stories became true, and sometimes it would be within like a week or a month of their satirical take. But yeah, it's getting impossibly hard to parody them.
Well, it's like, I mean, even we did Agent Poso, the comic with Jack Posobiec, and we have a Russian Chinese or a Chinese billionaire general as the villain, and he has this idea of to curb global warming, blot out the sun with particulates in the atmosphere.
Oh,
and then it's like, 2 weeks later, Bill Gates drops this, and I'm just like, this is just.
He read the comic, I think.
All this stuff is coming true, but it's all happening under like, obviously the Democrats and liberals. So this cheese thing, this is interesting. This is an interesting angle. Researchers from the University of Michigan have revealed that cheese contains a chemical found in addictive drugs. Using the Yale Food Addiction Scale designed to measure a person's cravings, the study found that cheese is particularly Moorish because it contains casein. The chemical, which is found in all dairy products, can trigger the brain's opioid receptors, producing, oh God, I just had this huge ad pop up. It can trigger the brain's opioid receptors, producing a feeling of euphoria linked to those of hard drug addiction. 500 students were asked to complete a questionnaire to identify food cravings as part of the study, with pizza topping the list as their most addictive food of all. So cheese is like cocaine. Maybe it's up in the air whether it's racist or not, but it's obviously something that could be considered maybe a class A drug next to crack and meth and cocaine at this point. So who knew?
Please. I remember I asked a friend of mine one time who has done heroin, and he said the closest thing is ZQL. And as far as like remembering like that feeling versus something that he sometimes takes now. And I remember thinking, like, at the time, I take ZQL every single night. But now I don't.
What is ZQL? Is that like NyQuil? Is that NyQuil?
Yeah, but without like the medicine part, just the thing to knock you out.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff tastes so awful. God, all that stuff.
No, it's in grape. They have it in grape.
Oh, so now they made it tasty.
Well, and they have pills now too.
That's evil. Wow. Jeez.
But
yeah, I don't know.
I still think cheese is the unifier. I mean, you think, like in the South, like especially in like Black families, like Thanksgiving, macaroni and cheese is a Thanksgiving dish.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Pardon?
It's true, and the mac and cheese. I was trying to think of some examples, and I had an ice cream. My dad and I had an ice cream store, and it was definitely black and white. Everybody loves soft serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't love soft serve, man?
Yeah.
Margaret Thatcher had some hand in creating soft serve ice cream. I learned recently, as right after she died. Yeah. I think she had something to do with the formula because it's non-dairy. There's no dairy in soft serve.
They never cover that in Iron Lady, but
yeah. Well, and that's the secret to the Chick-fil-A milkshakes. They're soft serve, and then they add the chocolate or the flavor in.
Chick-fil-A has no milk.
That's what I said. It's soft serve.
No, well, but it's not ice cream. It's not legally ice cream. Like you have to have a certain amount of like milk, fat, and all that to legally say it's ice cream, and it's Ice Dream if you look at it.
Right. Ours soft serve was dairy. It was 4% dairy. Yeah. It was around 4%, and then our hard ice cream was something like 7%, something like that.
I didn't even know there was percentages ice cream. That's interesting.
Yeah,
soft serve is just the delivery mechanism because there's like yogurt, which obviously has dairy.
Remember when that was a thing? Well, is that in the late 80s, 90s?
DCBY.
Frozen yogurt. Yeah, everybody was so hot on that. And I was like,
that came back. It made a comeback in the early 2010s, and then they all kind of.
Yeah, when you could put like unlimited toppings on it. And
Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs was a big thing. The toppings.
My brother worked at Haagen-Dazs at one point in time. Man, that was nice. That was a good thing. Didn't live there long.
Growing up at an ice cream place, you could have any ice cream. What's your favorite flavor?
I always liked the almond joy because we would make it ourselves. I learned from an ice cream maker, and I would make the the homemade ice cream. So Almond Joy, you put coconut shavings in it, chocolate chips, and almonds. And I switched to whole salted almonds. And so we had a really good Almond Joy ice cream.
You were making your own? You made your own. Man, that's a pain in the ass. I've done that before.
Yeah. It was very work intensive. And of course, the soft serve, the profit was so much higher, profit margin. So my dad always wanted me to sell the soft serve, but I loved making the ice cream. There was a bakery across from us. I think it was called Zeppi's Bakery, but they made apple pies. The apple pie ice cream, I would just toss in apple pies and fold them in with a big spoon. And it was incredible.
What happened to this place?
We sold it. It was
What was it? What was it called?
It was actually called the Dairy Barn. It still exists. It's in Randolph, Massachusetts. And it's an old Dairy Queen, but my dad ripped the barn down off it because he didn't want to pay the 2% commission to Dairy Queen, right? So it's still the Dairy Barn.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a small town outside of Tucson here called Benson, and they had a Dairy Queen, and then some private people came in and bought it, and they did the same thing. The Dairy Queen sign's there, but they had a custom fit, their own, and I forget what it's called. It's got a cowboy kind of theme to it. But
do you ever watch a show?
Awesome.
Do you ever watch a show, Nathan For You?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great.
Do you see the one where he tried to get around like trademark law with parodies? So he opened up a Starbucks, but it was called Dumb Starbucks.
Yeah.
And like
great.
every single thing had dumb next to it. It was like dumb venti, dumb latte, dumb everything. Didn't work.
Everyone had the green green
the Starbucks with the logo.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Did not work.
That's
it's
awesome.
like McDowell's.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't there a real McDowell's in America? Didn't somebody do that for real? I think they did. I think there's a real McDowell's out there. I think I saw that at some point in time. I'm surprised McDonald's didn't go after him, but it's just like a one-off. I don't think it's just a family-owned thing, but it's themed after Coming to America. Did anybody watch that sequel?
Yeah.
Tom, did you watch it?
I didn't see it. It's a kid's thing. Like, I don't see movies like, Blade Runner, things like that, because, I need to watch them on my own. So we end up watching family movies all the time. Yeah.
I don't know. I just heard some of the plot points of the second one, and I was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go there.
But it's kind of like how Roseanne was. Like, it checked boxes, like it has like a woke daughter, and that sort of thing. And some of the same jokes are there, but what's funny, especially like in the barbershop scene in the new one, the joke is like they're trying to be, politically correct, and it comes off funny. I can't remember what it was, but they were like going off, because they call him Kunta.
Kunta Kinte, yeah. And
so they were riffing off, and then like one of the younger ones said something, and they're like, you can't say that. That's politically incorrect. So I mean, the joke is like that. Here are these people that are not trying to be offensive, and they're just funny, but they sort of know, oh, you can't say that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot in the original that they probably wouldn't do now, but it was better than I was expecting.
That was such a huge movie. We saw that multiple times in the theater. I think that's 88 or 89, something like that. But that movie was just it's still classic 80s humor. So, and probably Eddie and Arsenio, probably at their peak at that point. Arsenio had his late night show, which was just huge. People forget how big that show was. And Eddie was just the king, man. I mean, he could do anything at that point. It was amazing. So I was hoping that they would lampoon, like Cobra Kai does. Cobra Kai does such a better job at lampooning the left and cancel culture and all the goofy shit. I was hoping that maybe Eddie would go that route. But Eddie was like recently like apologizing for jokes, which I thought was kind of sad. I don't know what he was referencing, whether it was stuffed in Delirious or Raw. It would
maybe he was wearing whiteface. Did he apologize for wearing whiteface? Being
white, that's so classic. That's at SNL, I think, when he did that, when he did the makeup and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's in Coming into America. He does, the whiteface.
Does he?
Well, the Jewish guy. At the barber shop.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I'll probably watch it, but I'll probably be disappointed more than likely.
It's only like an hour and a half, which is nice.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty quick. So, well, as far as cheese, I love cheese. I'm never going to stop eating cheese. I don't know. I mean, my favorite cuisine is Mexican food, so how the hell am I going to stop eating cheese? Are they going to limit our cheese? They're talking about limiting us to one burger. I heard that today. Did you guys hear about this?
Not letting them.
Yeah, I don't get this. Matt, your mic's all wacky.
Oh, sorry. I must have moved it.
Oh, I wondered if it was mine. It's Matt's.
It's Matt's.
Is everything all right now?
It's worse. I guess this is our cue to wrap it up.
All right, wait, plug it back in.
All right. I wonder what the most racist cheese is. I mean, if cheese has color, does that if it's like the more opaque the cheese is, would that make it more racist?
I think if it's on like a plate, like a wooden plate with crackers, that's definitely racist.
The cracker plate, that's so white.
If you're having, I think the most racist cheese is the after dinner plate, that you enjoy almost as dessert.
The most racist cheese is the dessert plate. It's like, who wants cheese for dessert? I mean,
that seems like a black comedian bit. It's like, you white people, you eat cheese for dessert,
right? Yeah, I mean, I want something sweet. I don't want cheese. It's like cheese and like dessert wine. You like that sweet dessert wine or something. Yeah. But I mean, it's like grill. I mean, Chef Andrew Gruel. I mean, this guy's a master with cheese on Twitter. His grilled cheese, his mac and cheese. He's cheeses everything. And we've DM'd each other. He's a big believer in American cheese, and I'm a big proponent and a big defender of American cheese. People say American cheese is not real cheese. Those people are liars.
Some things labeled American cheese, Kraft American cheese is not cheese. If you look on it, same with like Parmesan that's sitting on a shelf. If you look at it, it says cheese food. But I think when people argue with you, they don't know that American cheese is a normal cheese you can get like in the deli, get it sliced up. But most people's interaction with American cheese is the slices wrapped in plastic.
Man, I can't hear you.
Let's wrap it up. All right.
Matt needs a new mic. Matt needs a new mic. Oh, well. Anyway.
Bye, Matt.
We'll wrap it up. We're at an hour. Show your book, Matt.
Yeah, hold it up high, Matt.
Yeah, hold it up high. All right, well, Tom
is right above his head.
Yeah, I got him up. I always got him in the background here.
That's smart. Tom, why don't you give everybody your social media coordinates so they know where to find you, and tell everybody what you got going on. I know you're touring with Greg.
Yeah, me and Greg are doing the live shows, and we're back out there. We just did a show at the South Carolina Speedway, so we're doing the outdoor venues, and hopefully the indoor one soon, if the world can get their sanity back. The problem is that a lot of these big theater venues they just stayed closed till 2023. I mean, they're closed. So
and they're not getting anybody else, right? Like, I mean, no one else is touring. So
yeah. So and the acts that are touring are doing the outdoor venues, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind doing it, and so that's good. It's busy with the Gutfeld Show, and then as far as social media, most of my social media I ignore unless I really have to. But I like to do tom.locals.com. I have a local site with Dave Rubin. And so mine is not tomshillue.locals, but it's just tom.locals.com. So people should go there and check that out.
Yeah, I need to check that out. Cersei's over there. There's a bunch of people over there on locals only. And everybody's saying really positive things about it. And it's growing.
It's a great hangout, and it's good for the super fans, but it's also good for people. They can just come, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's a site where, people pay to get, but you can actually lurk. And you can go and look at everything I post there. Yeah. And then there's a membership. So it's kind of like having a Substack, and then people could subscribe if they want to,
Do they get extra content or something if they subscribe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I post stuff every day, but then certain things, if my really racy videos, I put them under the I put them behind the thing for members only.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do with our old political punks episodes with people that have been canceled. I was going to put it on my locals, just to have it behind a paywall somehow.
Yeah, because we had Milo on, we had Gavin on, we had a bunch of people who have just been completely and totally just vanquished, disappeared, as the communists say. I mean, they've all got their own platforms at this point, which is great, but they're sorely missed on social media and every place they work, because they made it a lot of fun. Twitter's boring, man. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't blame you for ignoring social media, dude. I mean, especially Twitter.
There's
it's
no
kind of
upside to it at this point. There's no upside. It can only get you in trouble in many cases. That's why, if I shoot a video, I'll go to the Gutfeld Show and I'll shoot a backstage video. And, that's kind of quasi allowed anyway, because it's, Fox doesn't want people showing behind the scenes. But I'll put it on the locals because it's behind the thing for members only. And so that's a fun social media. So, I like doing that.
And
better.
Fox is cool with you doing that as long as it's kind of through.
Yeah, because it's only, you know what? My fan base isn't big enough so that it's like, you know what I mean? It's like not that many people see the video.
Well, Tom, you need to like maybe release on your locals like some sort of like your own Biden filter or something.
Yeah.
Or on Snapchat or whatever. Instagram.
Yeah.
Lisa, you want to give everybody your social media coordinates and tell them what you have going on?
I don't have anything going on.
I'm meaning on vacation.
Yeah, I'm on vacation. Twitter, Lisa DEP, Instagram, Lisa_DEP, and then my local is Lisa Pasquale, but I haven't done anything with it yet. I haven't decided what I want to put there.
Okay. Matt, you can find Matt at Matt Palumbo 12, the number 12 on Twitter, and you can also get his book. Dumb and Dumber, How Cuomo de Blasio Ruined New York on Amazon.com. Pick it up. It's a great book. It's got a great cover too. I got you covered, Matt. Don't worry about your mic.
The bonus is everything ties together with Matt because his bye sign, that's like the only thing Cuomo let people do, to say goodbye to their relatives. Is just like behind a window, hold a sign that says bye.
It's so true. All right. So, sadly, we're out of time. Everyone make sure and subscribe to Political Bugs channel on Rumble and YouTube so you never miss any of our new videos. Like and share this video far and wide. Also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, everyone, stay frosty.